Option.
All right. Hi, welcome my Wise Astrology Tribe, Cosmic Insight Astrology. I am your co-pilot, Christina. Today we are here again with Ian, and actually we are continuing the Forever After Forest series, which is actually indication in your astrology chart. I really like that because it has no expiration dates, and it is actually not about some kind of prediction over here. We are going to talk about indication and addiction today. Welcome, Ian. Thank you so much to coming back to the channel.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And I think this is an interesting topic, maybe a bit of a deeper topic, a heavier topic. But if, let's say, I wanted to make things and create things in the world and be an active person of society, I think this is an important topic because if we're addicted to things, it's hard to do anything in the real world and be active. So I think if you solve some of these issues that we're going to talk about, you're going to have a much better life in general.
Indeed. And this is very close to my heart because, as you know, guys, I'm a psychiatric nurse and a special ed teacher. But as a psychiatric nurse, I was actually working in a psych ward for a long time, for 3 to 5 years, something like 5 years altogether. But 3 years actually, I was with adults. And I also was a surgical nurse as well because we had a lot of depot medicine, which is actually, we put that in the glute, like the glute muscle, we opened it up and we put that in for alcoholism, and people were not able to drink because they could have some kind of very severe side effect or they could die. So, but anyway, this is really close to me, and I'm Pisces myself, and usually they say Pisces people have a lot of addiction. The thing is, what we have to talk about here, addiction is anything what is overdone by DSM-3. DSM, it is actually a book which we using like psychiatric nurse and psychologist or psychiatrist, like a study guide actually, and it shows the indicators for addiction, depression, and everything else. And I just have to say something here for you guys as a nurse, and the biological and indicators for that. That is actually depression and addiction. All is serotonin and dopamine deficiency in the brain. Okay, so that's chemistry in the brain. And the dopamine and serotonin is decreasing significantly. It could decrease because of maybe you dopamine burnout. Why? Because people actually addicted to porn or sugar, and things like that. And it is burning out your dopamine receptors and it can't create anymore. And then the serotonin imbalance also in the brain, it's going down. You get depression. Depression, what does it mean? Then you want to do something to numb yourself. Then you start to use drugs because, right, that's what's happening. So it's all connected together. So I just wanted to talk about the chemistry over here. And later on, we can also mention remedies because as a clinical herbalist, I can help you. For example, some kind of remedies if you don't want to take SSRIs, because it could obviously, if you have to, you have to. But if you are willing to go with D vitamin, B vitamin, and so on, we're going to talk about that later. We are here to help you. All right, I'm giving you the platform right now. Do you
Yeah,
want to share something?
I will share also, but I really want to thank you for that introduction because I think this we complement each other well because mostly what I do, I work with people's emotional realities or their emotional selves and their psychology, and very often these places that actually cause these addictions are, let's say, emotional. But when you are already in very heavy places, like Christina said, you need also to understand like the chemistry, the what you can do to kind of help yourself through these heavier times, let's say, in your life, while working on those emotional wounds and pains, as we're also going to talk about. So it's a mix of both worlds. If you can do it, the better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely psychosomatic and definitely is chemical imbalance and definitely it could be controlled in some time, not all the time, guys. If somebody is really heavily suicidal, obviously, like you have to go and seek for help. But, food is medicine. So food and actually vitamin deficiency could help you to recreate some kind of chemical balance in the brain.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Just to couple of things, guys, what we're going to do. We're doing the introduction. We're going to do why, what, but also we're going to briefly talk about last month's. We did a webinar about psychic gifts, and we had lots of prizes, and we had people participating in those prizes. I'm going to share that in a second. And then we're going to jump into the astrological kind of indicators like planets here, aspects there, and to talk about some things you can do from an emotional perspective, maybe from an astrological perspective, and like Christina said, from a very, very practical earthly perspective as well. So last time I gave you a chart to kind of guess, and I'm actually happy because most of you who guessed under the chat or in the chat under the video got it, the chart. It was Edgar Casey's chart. It was I would say one of the most famous psychics that ever lived. So great, guys, that you took a guess, took a swing. And you can write to me at ian@ianaltsar.com. Just add your YouTube username. I will send you the material for the webinar. It's a 7-hour webinar with 2 ebooks as well. And actually, just kind of a plug here as well. That 7-hour webinar, I put a lot of those emotional, let's say, psychoanalysis parts into that webinar to help you understand why some of these issues and some of these addictions and pains are actually showing up in your life. So those of you who didn't participate, you can still get that webinar on my website.
And I'm
But
going to put
yeah,
that
go ahead.
actually under in the description box also. So they are capable to click on it and
Mhm.
then they can buy your webinar.
Yeah, it's I think it's a really good webinar because a lot of people, wrote to me specifically after the webinar. They started businesses after that webinar, and they had opportunities after understanding those deeper things inside of themselves and releasing them because of that webinar. They were able to take the next step in life and move on from a very stuck situation, which addiction is, and what we're talking about right now. Now, I just want a couple of words why I'm personally, Christina obviously shared why she's is capable and more than capable of speaking about this. But my personal experience and my work is very much directly related to these psychological patterns, emotional patterns, trauma patterns that very often cause these addictions. Personally, I struggled with drug and alcohol addiction. Again, because of those issues, I'm now clean and sober for over a decade. So I also have that perspective. I have a perspective of the addict, and I have a perspective of the person who's clean, healthy, and likes to live and wants to engage with life. So this is important, and to kind of help to paint the picture that you can come out of these deep and very dark places sometimes and find a new and happy life as well. Yeah, so very, I think this is maybe one of the most important pieces of information in the slides that I have to give you. And if you're going to take one thing from this webinar, I really hope that you take this very specific sentence that I'm going to give you in specific knowledge. Every addiction starts with a lack or perceived lack of love and attention. So at first, it might seem like a very kind of fluffy, new agey kind of thing, like love and attention. Great, I'm in some dark places. What good does that do for me? But in my work, what I've understood about myself, but also working with these people who have these deep addictive behaviors, every time the person experiences this lack or perceived lack of love and attention within themselves, they go for that addiction. And 100% of the time, or at least in my practice and in my experiences, they are literally all to do with the person's childhood. Somewhere something happened, somewhere somebody didn't give them the love and appreciation, or took it away, or wasn't there, etc., etc. There are many variations of this, and that created a hole, an emptiness, a pain inside of them. And every addiction now in adulthood is directly correlated and related to that wound as well. So take this to heart, really sit with it for a moment. I know it maybe seems a bit weird to first digest it, but this is one of the most important pieces that you need to understand about addiction.
I don't think so. It's weird because, self-love is the most important things. And also, I just want to say something over here.
Yes.
Lack of love could actually happen during prenatal status as well. So when you actually were in your mother's womb and maybe somebody rejected your coming, right? Because your birth, for example, because of you maybe were an accident baby and there was no love or from your mother or from a father figure, you were the fetus was rejected. The fetus already feels the rejection and the lack of love, and it's not actually necessarily genetic. Some of addiction could be genetic, but only 5%. Just read about Bruce Limpton, Biology of Relief. So that's an amazing book, guys. And I happen to have been on his workshops, but also because of you don't remember the prenatal status, and you have to go back during hypnosis to understand if your mother or father rejected you or something like that, and why is the addiction over there for you. So sometimes it's going back all the way.
This is a really good uh, piece of advice and piece of information, guys. And I will share a quick story because this is my experience. So I was born in the 80s. In the 80s, they had this, at least in the Soviet Union, where I'm from, past previous Soviet Union. I'm luckily now in Europe. But what they had, they didn't have the capacity to do abortions like we can do now, and they had all these medical issues. And my parents actually were very young when they got pregnant with me, and they actually went to get the abortion. And the only reason I'm alive here is right now is they couldn't have it because of I think it was called rhesus conflict, and what it basically meant was if they would have had the abortion, my mother would have died as well. So at that moment in the 80s, end of 80s, that was an issue. Now it's not an issue anymore. It's not a medical issue. They've solved it. But at that time, they couldn't have that abortion. So I think for like 20, I understood it around my after having a deep conversation with my father. He explained it to me, and I had this huge issue with like never belonging, never being accepted, and I had this very deeply in myself and within myself. I couldn't really put the pieces together where it's coming from. I couldn't understand it. And it was when my father told me this story, like they went to the abortion clinic and couldn't get the abortion. I was like, everything hit me like a huge, like pain also hit me, but also like a revelation, like an enlightening moment hit me like, oh, this is why I always went, I've always felt unwanted in the world, like not desired, not nobody kind of wants me in that place. So these things can be really deep, like Christina's like prenatal fetus type things, like you don't have any idea, and it takes quite a lot of effort to get to the bottom of these things.
Yeah, the rejection already, the fetus feels it.
It's very painful. It's very painful. But let's dive into some astrological configurations as well, because I've put these together in no specific order, because they can be, let's say, one is more stronger, one is more a little bit um, evil, let's put it this way, or deep. But they all can play a role, and there are many indicators that can indicate like an addiction or an issue in your natal chart and in your life as well. So let's talk about Pluto, because Pluto is in my opinion one of the most difficult ones. I know most addictive things are related to Neptune as well. We're going to talk about Neptune, we're going to talk about Pisces as well, but Pluto is very tricky. And Scorpio, Pluto and Scorpio and eighth house is very tricky. Just one of the reasons being what we just said. It's so deep, it's so uncovered, it's so suppressed, it's so subconscious. It needs a lot of digging to come out. And that's one of the reasons why I picked Pluto maybe as the top dog in that area. So what are some placements with Pluto that indicate addictive behaviors or psychological problems, we can also say, that lead to addictive behaviors? Aspect wise, we're going to talk about oppositions and squares, definitely, to personal planets: Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, definitely. Outer planets, yes, yes, but more so the personal planets. Specific mention, I would also say, like conjunction. Conjunction can go both ways. If the planets are really strong by dignity, it doesn't have to be that bad, but conjunction still deserves a mention, especially to the angles. Ascendant IC, I would say, is the most prevalent because it's a very, very emotional angle. DC, descendant line as well. MC, in this case, I would leave out. Yeah, so with Pluto, what we're talking a lot about is one of the things we're talking about is porn or sex addiction. And because a lot of the things that Pluto brings is very deep, it's obsession, it's a very sexual planet in it of itself. So when there's a hard aspect, but there's a conjunction with the IC, the person can actually be obsessed with the sex itself, but it can be even like discovering very dark things about sexuality and go very deeply obsessive with the porn, and it just lose themselves in it, and just completely be immersed in the porn or sex as well.
Yeah, Pluto
So
is definitely obsessive compulsive disorder in psychiatric sense, and Neptune is more like addiction to alcohol or drugs, but Pluto definitely it's like either bipolar or obsessive compulsive disorder. And the incense, for example, Pluto and IC, I did figure that during the years and clienters, those people actually could be attracted to their children's. I mean, don't take it wrong if you have it in your chart, don't get scared. But I did also realize if people have Pluto and IC, it could be like some kind of incense in the family, like they breed within family or they are attracted to family members, cousins or whatever. Yeah.
it can get really dark, guys. I would say be really careful when this transit hits or when you have it in the chart. I've unfortunately seen with working with people, it's been even like like even rape, and that leads to addiction later. Like somebody in the family does something really bad to this person. So this is not easy. This is very deep and painful. But like I said here, it can be with Pluto, it can be really almost difficult to pinpoint exactly, like, oh, it's porn. Yes, that's one of the ways it can manifest, but it can be some sort of obsessive behavior towards something, and that will lead to a very, very addictive behavior. Like an example, like here, like Venus in Scorpio, I've seen very much people are addicted to food or material things, even shopping, which is which might seem strange, but this can get really out of hand. Like these people really just, take things and they want to have these things. Mm-hmm. And one of the main things why they want to have these things is they are afraid that they're not going to get these things anymore. So one of the examples can be that in your early childhood, if you have Venus in Scorpio in somewhere, maybe even close to the moon or in hard aspect with the moon, or somewhere in the fourth house, is that you maybe didn't have the financial resources, or the mother didn't have the financial resources, and now you have to hoard these things to feel that wholeness again. And it's difficult. It's difficult. Okay, yeah, I'm feeling heavy even discussing this, but it's okay, guys. This is why we're talking about this, to get it out in the open, to heal ourselves from this. Yeah, and I guess I want to throw in a quick plug. If you want to know if you have these positions, if you have Pluto, Venus somewhere, go check out Benefic. This is a free app that I developed with some of my team members. And it's a really good resource to understand quickly what you have in your chart and kind of like dissect it as well. Let's move on with the astrological indicators for addiction. Heavy 12th house placement. This also includes Pisces. Now we're talking about Pisces as well. Like Christina said, it's a little bit of you can call it softer, but I would say, like, if you know so much about addiction, if you've seen, it doesn't seem as soft as it is, but I would say it's a little more deceptive. Meaning, everybody knows, lady who always has a drink in their hand, and they seem jolly, but actually they might be like drinking every day, like pounding the drinks, and they're heavily addicted to alcohol. But it seems like in their life, they're not hurting anybody particularly, but they're heavily addicted to alcohol. This is kind of like the example I would have with Pisces and Neptune. Obviously, it can get much worse than that as well. So some of the things you need to look out: stellium in Pisces, meaning 3 or more planets, or influences, I would add as well, does count as a stellium. Neptune in Pisces, or 12th house, Pluto there, Moon or the first house ruler, or Almuten there as well in Pisces, or 12th house. Again, it brings in those escapism type impulses. I want to escape. Now, let's imagine that we want to positively use these energies. 12th house is deep research. It's being in the studio. It's creating something in your, in private. Like, musician spends time in the studio. An artist spends time painting something in a gallery privately. These are like the more higher octaves of the 12th house placement. So it doesn't always mean that you're going to be addicted if you see something in your chart, but there's an inclination, there's a window open that we really don't want to go through. We want to go through a different window.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
So yeah, next, I think one of the main ones and the tricky one is the 6th house. So 6th house is the natural house of imbalances. And I've put the word addiction to brackets here because it can seem like a very practical house, earthly house, but the nature of the house is imbalances. So what leads us into addictive behaviors, into impulsive, compulsive behaviors, is the imbalances in life. If we don't know how to manage these imbalances in life, if we don't know how to healthily manage these types of things, then we can swing into the more deeper end of the pendulum and get addicted to things. So I put down some placements here, but again, a stellium in the 6th house can already imply that the person has some work to do during this lifetime with some imbalances and needs to work through some addictions in order to get into a healthier place to help others get through these things. So Jupiter in the sixth. This is weird, but this is one of the main ones that I see with client work, and it might sound a little bit weird because Jupiter, a benefic, usually bring good things. But remember one thing: Jupiter also expands whatever it touches. So when it is in the sixth house, when it is in the eighth house, again, it expands these things. So it can expand the imbalances. It can expand the crisis, which is eighth house again. And these things can lead to, again, addiction. Now, I brought out an example here, Jupiter in Cancer, which is exalted. But I've seen not one, but many people with this position, and they're literally addicted to substances, and what is important to understand with the sixth house Jupiter, even though it might be exalted, the person will constantly justify these addictions to themselves and to others as well. Jupiter is higher kind of wisdom and knowledge. The person will find these.
Are you here?
God wants it, or whatever. It's a weird position. And it's a tricky one, definitely a tricky one.
So definitely Jupiter in the sixth house and Jupiter in the eighth house, and also indeed in the 12th house. And Jupiter not loves to be in the 12th house, but comfortable, because in Pisces it's ruled by Jupiter also in the 12th. But anyway, over there could bring in some kind of mental illnesses, or they can bring in some kind of suicidal thoughts, and a lot of issues with addiction as well. And in the fifth house, because we also talking about benefits over here. And for example, addiction is also sugar addiction, guys. So Venus Jupiter conjunction, for example, in the sixth house, it could be diabetes, because of diabetes too, through sugar addiction. But also in the fifth house is gambling and day trading, and you can lose a lot of money. And that could be because gambling is also an addiction. My first dissertation was about to writing a book, 50 or maybe more pages of book when I went in university, and that was about pathological gambling, because in my family we have addicts, and that's my brother and that's my grandfather. And what you just said, I just want to say actually an example over here. For example, my grandfather was, because he was the only one who was a shoemaker, and all his brothers and sisters were doctors and attorneys. So he was the black sheep, and he actually had that kind of alcohol addiction. So he had North Node, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn conjunction in the 12th house in Libra. And he had in the sixth house what you are just seeing over here, South Node and Chiron conjunction, opposing all of this. So obviously there was a karmic issue as well. But when he committed suicide, because he ended his life because of his gambling addiction, Uranus was in Pisces in the fifth house. You can see the addiction. And actually, guys, very soon my medical astrology book is coming out, but you can also purchase the medical astrology webinar that I made, which is 20 hours, and I talk about addiction and every kind of indicators there. So when he died, he had actually Saturn opposition, Uranus opposition. Saturn was actually in the sixth house on the Chiron and South Node conjunction, and opposed Mars, and it was a Mars return for him. So I'm just saying that, this is an addiction, alcohol, gambling, everything, and then ended with suicide. So what Ian says, I just wanted to actually say here, and, um, what is this as example, but also in medical astrology. I don't know if you saw that or not, but opposition is the first worst indicator for anything, like in medical astrology, it could be mental health, whatever. And the second one is not squares, guys.
Mm.
Squares could be healed, but in conjunction, is actually King Kongs is very bad in medical astrology. So if you have something opposition or in conjunction, then it could be something. And I'm sorry, just continue, please. I just wanted to say that example here.
No, no, very good. Please jump in whenever. I think these are really good examples, and I think like conjunctions are really like almost like mischievous, or I don't know what's the right word, but it's sometimes it's like, oh yeah, conjunction, you know, Jupiter Neptune conjunction, or sorry, even Jupiter Venus, it seems all good, but like when it has a like a square or an opposition from somewhere, from some deep planet, maybe like a Pluto as well, like it changes the whole dynamic, and it changes the whole conjunction quality of the conjunction. So please be on the lookout, and just don't think every conjunction is a great one. Jupiter in Taurus, sixth house, addicted to food mostly, or again, things. Jupiter in Virgo in the sixth house, addicted to health routines and work. And this can happen. This can sometimes happen with Saturn in the sixth house as well. But Jupiter is again, Jupiter is in this case trickier because it's you're justifying it constantly to yourself. Saturn will have the ability usually to limit, although yes, struggling with the addiction, it will have the opportunity to limit. Jupiter just expands and justifies it, and just, you know. And Jupiter in Pisces, like we said already, alcohol and substance abuse mainly. You know, it can be like pills and drugs as well. North Node. The North Node is similar to Jupiter, and this is again like I can justify, I can jump, I can basically sell to myself that it's okay to do these things. Okay, now we're moving on to Neptune and Pisces. We talked about it a little bit as well. And one of the main things here is escapism. Like this really talks about the need and desire to escape. Now, we've talked about alcohol and drugs, but I also want to mention here, which is becoming, I would say, an epidemic for us and for young children, especially what I'm observing with the youth and even adults, which is sad. Which is sad, is gaming. Like Neptune is a lot to do with gaming, and we're like, these games build these worlds, and they build these, let's say, systems where you can have these feelings and emotions really quickly. You know, the dopamine, you achieve like a level or whatever, you get the dopamine hit really quickly. Like, for example, when you're building a business in real life, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes foundation, it takes networks, it takes a lot of things. You don't get the dopamine fix every day. It's more like a very boring work a lot of the time, which most people don't want. And building a career, similar, you know, a lot of things, it takes time, it takes a lot of boring effort, and you don't get the dopamine fixes very rarely. But when we're addicted to that and you want to get that feeling constantly, it's easier to play a game and get that lost in it and get that quick feeling. It's, you know, I can't directly obviously correlate to taking a pill because that's even more quicker, but it's definitely a similar pattern.
Instant satisfaction, you know, gaming. If you win on VR, or, you know, if you're going, because Neptune is illusion, delusion, guys, right? So it's fogginess, and it's good sometimes to become foggy. Script writing, for example, I want to live in my scripts. That's why I write all the time, because the real world is harsh, you know, and that's actually can cause dopamine burnout, because it's instant satisfaction sometimes when you escape from something, and Neptune allow you. And if Neptune actually is opposing Uranus or square or in conjunct Uranus in your chart, and it's triggered by any kind of planet, but negative planet, Mars, Saturn, you know, like triggering it some way, then you can get addicted to Fortnite playing, or, you know, like VR or ER, anything it is, but, you know, because it gives you instant satisfaction. I have to say something gross over here, guys. I'm sorry. So my instant satisfaction, and it is just recent, and I know it's very gross, but if I'm very mad at the world, or nothing is going forward, you know what I do? I go online and I'm checking those popping pimples, but only blackheads because I'm disgusted by everything else. But if somebody is popping blackheads and it is like, oh, finally just pop it because it's so disgusting your face or whatever. And somehow it gives me some kind of relief of anger. And I don't know, it's terrible, I know, but somehow my anger is relieved and it gives me satisfaction. And okay, I can go and start again my life. So I have to sometimes go on the pimple popping, and okay, I'm happy after that. It's very weird.
That's an interesting one. Definitely. I haven't even seen or
Disgusting, but yes, I like to see that.
okay, a little bit Leptune, also similar hard aspects, oppositions, conjunctions, squares to personal planets, especially, will also be more inclined to these things we're talking about. Definitely. Yeah, let's go a little bit maybe softer, hopefully. Moon and Cancer. Why I want to talk about Moon and Cancer placements is because Moon is still our emotional life, and it's a very fragile thing. It ebbs and flows. Yes, it goes up and down. But if there are difficulties, if there are hard aspects, if there are transits, squares from Saturn, oppositions from Pluto, one of the most difficult ones there is, or
Mhm.
conjunction even with Pluto, like these are the times where our emotional lives are quite disturbed. Yes, we're transforming. If you are aware of these things, it's easier to transform. It's not easy, but it's a little tiny bit easier to transform these things. If you're unaware, these things very much are living in your subconscious. Then it's much easier to go and start an addiction, start to escape somewhere, start to escape from reality, because my emotional life is so hard, so heavy. I need to go and escape and get that good feeling back.
Emotional
Yeah, go ahead.
instability, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And it's understandable, and I can relate, and I understand completely if you're there and watching it. I think it's kind of like harsh what we're saying, and but like it's more so we're aware of what we're doing. We need to be, the first step is always that we're aware, like this heaviness is coming, I'm aware that it's going to be difficult, I need to do some other things, not to do these bad things that have much longer negative effect on my life. So wherever the moon or Cancer is in your natal chart, first and foremost, this is the place where you're very emotional. You're almost emotionally codependent to that part. So what do I mean by that? Is like, let's say it's in your seventh house. You're very emotionally attached to your partners, your marriage partner, your even friendship sometimes. So when something happens there, it emotionally disturbs you more. Again, you're going to need better ways to deal with these negative feelings rather than go into addictions when something happens. So this is where I often still recommend the more simple things: grounding, earth, nature. These are the best things always. Meditation. I know it's sometimes difficult to go into meditation and go into the feeling body, especially important with the moon. But the most important thing to understand is your emotion, your feeling life is affected. So you need to understand first and foremost what you are experiencing, because the first indication if something negative happens is to suppress, and
Mhm.
then that leads to that just leads to bigger negative emotions later, which you then need to manage, and then again go into the addiction. Then again the pattern, like the spiral, the snowball starts to unravel again. So you really need to understand with the moon, with every part of what we're talking about here, it's emotional. We need to understand these emotions. We need to almost like verify and say to ourselves what we're experiencing, what we're feeling in order to be able to deal with these things.
And you can make it positive, for example. So you are capable, if you're dealing with it on the right way, you are capable. So you were talking about the IC, right? And for example, in my chart, I have Venus conjunct my IC and opposing Pluto. I get actually sexually abused in my childhood. I have a Sagittarius rising and I have Cancer actually in the eighth house, right? So
Mm.
what the way I turned it out to be positive, I'm fighting with all pedophiles. I'm reporting. I'm going after them. And Ian actually knows it. We just had recently an issue in our neighborhood. A pedophile moved in and actually approached both of my boys. And like we had to report and everything. This is crazy, but we are on the court and I'm fighting against sex trafficking. I have clients right now who are very wealthy and they are also fighting against, so I'm working with them. So my obsession became like I gonna help because I had an experience and I have the cancer in eighth house. Obviously, eighth house is sexuality, sex trafficking, Hades, the unseen. But because I'm a mother, cancer is there for me and I'm gonna fight for my own children and everybody's as children. So you can turn those out to be positive, right? And because my moon is in Leo in the ninth house, what is it gonna do? I'm talking in public. I'm not ashamed of that. And I'm gonna talk and make everybody aware of this. So that's how you can actually change. But I'm just saying something positive over here. We are capable to create something negative out positive traits.
Very often, guys, yes, like exactly what Christina said. This is like the higher octave of what I think we're doing our best to kind of convey here is you could turn these very negative events in your life into your mission,
Mhm.
your doing good in the world. And this is one of the ways you can actually heal through it yourself as well, not just help others, but you're actually, while you're helping others, you're healing yourself as well. So this is a really, really, really important thing to do. If you can, like, I'm not saying if you're in the midst of your addiction, you need to first get out of it and become
Yeah,
a healthier person, and then get into that helping
yeah,
others.
turn positive, but first
Yeah.
definitely you need to hear yourself.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to end this on a maybe there's a little bit of a lighter note here, I guess somewhere in between the deeper, heavier, because there are, let's say, general things, usually signs, like let's say you're an ascendant, you're in a moon, or you're in a sun, that can be also addictive, that you're doing that are also positive, but when doing them too much, they can turn into addiction. So I just wrote out here a couple of things, and we're going to look at one example of a famous person who was, let's say, publicly also struggling, unfortunately, with addiction as well. So Aries, can be addicted to adrenaline and excitement. It's just they love it so much. It's just can become an addiction as well because they're getting that dopamine out of it. Now, at first, again, it seems like, oh, what, adrenaline, excitement. I want to live an exciting life. Yeah, of course. But once it turns into an addictive behavior, like obsessive, I need to have it again. I think you should start to look at the deeper emotional issues that might be, leading you to that behavior.
Because
Tor
addiction
Yeah.
is, addiction is self-sabotaging behavior, guys. And what Ian was talking over here with the dopamine and adrenaline for areas, if you are actually driving that motorcycle with 150 all the time, if you have to do bungee jumping and all the time, and actually you are going to sabotage one way your life, sooner or later. So it is because it brings in danger and you addicted to danger areas. Could be, the dopamine is from some kind of dangerous sports, whatever it is. But yes, definitely.
Yeah. it's a really sometimes tricky thing to understand if you're addicted to thing, but like if you need to have it or you need to do it, then it starts to come to the place of okay, why do I need? I'm getting something out of it. This is where the need is being built. But okay, Taurus, food and comfort, material things,
Yes.
the riches. Gemini, this is an interesting. I think Gemini is very very almost like deceptive or can be deceptive because it's social media and information. And I wrote here, but it can also be like being in the social sphere, like being a social butterfly. You can be addicted to even that, like getting it and having to exchange information with everybody and having to talk and discuss and communicate. It can literally develop into an addiction. Cancer, emotional relief. Leo, now attention, extravagance, and like we already talked about, like with the fifth house, Christina said, like gambling is a big one for Leos, unfortunately. But attention and being admired also. Virgo, work definitely. Workaholics
Yeah.
can and it can take extreme measures as well. Libras, definitely relationships and companionship. Codependency is a problem from Libras because Libras
Codependency.
remember remember Libras being ascendant or moon or even sun, they identify themselves very often through the other person. So that's one of the reasons why they're codependent on others. Yeah, sorry. You want to say something?
No, that's what it is. Like Libra can be, yes, definitely. Very codependent.
And it's yeah, again, it's something it's harder to see. Scorpios, intimacy, intensity. Scorpios, one of the things about Scorpios that you need to understand is Scorpios have a need to feel and experience something very deep all the time. And they might not even say it out loud. And even I've I've had arguments with people about this, and later they come to me like, yeah, okay, you were right. But like the problem with Scorpio is they don't want you to know this, and they like to keep it private. But I'm not here to judge, guys. I just want also Scorpios who have a more of a difficult time on this planet, no questions asked. Like this is fact. I want you to have a normal life as well as much as possible. But this means being very, very good with your emotional life. Sagittarius, new things, travel, novelty, excitement is Sagittarius's thing. Capricorn, work and success again, wants to achievement. Aquarius, I put here technology and gaming. You can probably put some other things as well, but isolation. I think it's much easier
Aquarius
for
is very detached, very, very more
very
than Capricorn. Capricorn can success, that's important. But sometimes when I talk to an Aquarius, they're so cold and so detached. I am like, oh my God, it is very different from me.
exactly. It's strange if you're very, let's say, emotional and maybe in tune and uh caring and nurturing a person, and you're talking to an Aquarius, they're so aloof, they just seem to not care. So I think that this is one of the reasons why I put isolation here is
Yes.
it's harder for them to be emotionally capable and in the moment in present with you, that it's much easier to be in some isolated place for them. It's easier. Yeah, Pisces, last but not least, alcohol, drugs, basically any escapism you can think of. It's Pisces.
I have to say something over here. Most of my Pisces friends, and me being Pisces also, we are actually having the axis energy. So I saw a lot of Virgo, for example, become alcoholic or marijuana addict or whatever. And I saw a lot of Pisces became obsessive with cleaning. All my, at least 15 friends of mine, myself as well, I'm so annoying. At one point, my husband George had to say when we had the two child, like, Christy, you cannot do that with your children. This is not dirt. It's just they playing. You took that away from them because I was like everything had to be in a certain way. I felt like I'm like have some kind of curse on me if I'm not fixing everything. So everything has to be super clean. But it could be also because obviously there could be some kind of trauma from the childhood. Because if somebody gets sexually abused, they also feel dirty. And I actually connected that. So that's why I cleaning all the time, to feel clean. It could be also, but for my other friends, it's not. It is, but that's how I feel. Sometimes excess energy coming in. You will see you're going to actually have the obsession or the addiction of a Libra, the Aries addiction. So it could go back and forth between the excess energy. Yes.
Very nice. Yeah, very nice. I want to say one thing about the cleaning, because this is what I worked with a lot, and one of the things here is, like you said, with the sexual thing, the dirty you have to clean. But one of the, maybe I want to say a little bit softer variation, and what I've seen a little bit, a lot of actually, is when the natal, or let's say the person's mother or father or even grandmother, somebody in the home is obsessed with the cleaning. Everything needs to be perfect and needs to be clean. Usually this means that the person, now the only way they got attention or love from the caregivers was when everything was perfect or clean.
Yeah.
And now they have to keep it, everything in their home needs to be perfect or clean, and everybody's going insane around them, like, please don't do this, like you're almost like ruining our lives. But no,
Yes.
everything has to be
Yes.
clean. So yeah, it can be, I think these are, when you start getting feedback, especially from your loved ones, this is also an indication of like, this needs some work. Yeah, it's getting out of hand. Okay, I also brought an example, maybe a sad example, but also one of the reasons why I brought this Aaron Carter's chart. God bless his soul.
Yeah.
It's just like almost like a textbook example of what we've been discussing, what we've been talking about. It's a sad example, but I think it's an example what we can, almost like search for, learn about, and maybe do better, and guide our children, friends, whoever, a little bit better. But you can see many indicators here in the chart. Maybe we can start even with the moon. The moon in the 8th house in Cancer, very emotional, most likely some sort of emotional trauma from the childhood, from the mother, from the family, that is causing these inner turmoil as well in adulthood, that was not seen, that was not healed. We can see even North Node in Pisces in the 4th house. But one of the main ones I really wanted to pinpoint here is Pluto conjunct Mars in the 12th house in Scorpio, and quite a close conjunction. This is applying, sorry, I wanted to say this is an applying conjunction as well. I would say this is much stronger one.
Yes.
And this one with the Neptune and Venus conjunction in Capricorn, which is, they're separating, but it still talks about we can say addictive, deeply addictive behaviors.
But it's sexual trauma, Ian. Listen, Pluto, Mars in Scorpio in the 12th, and actually when I was reading about Aaron Carter, and actually Candice Owen was talking about him a lot because of, what's happened. Was it suicide? Why was it? He wanted to talk about sex trafficked children right before
Yeah.
he died, whatever, I don't know
Yeah.
really what's happened. I
Yeah.
don't want to be a conspiracy theorist over here, but look at the IC. The IC ruled by actually Mars, right? Because it's in the 5th house and it's in Aries. And he is obviously singing and into, like because he was not on, he was singing as well, right?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
Yes. So in childhood, and it's in a playful whole house over here. So he went through some kind of sex trauma. Look, Pluto and Mars, the ruler of the IC, conjunct in Scorpio, somebody abused him sexually, and that's why he created addiction. And he knew about sex trafficked children, so he might have been actually, because that music industry, that P. Diddy shit, whatever is happening, this is disgusting, and that's what happened with this young dude. Mhm.
Yeah, it's very, one of the reasons why I I always like, didn't want to say, because he's passed away. But yes, there's so many indicators of that could have happened. Very high potential, especially. Remember, guys, the house, it's a hidden house. It's something behind the scenes. It's something that happened. Oh, I've seen these types of things in the 12th house with people abused directly in the bedroom, because 12th house is the bedroom, and especially like you said, fifth house, children, eighth house moon. Again, it's just, there's so many things that hint at this sexual trauma here. So yeah, it's
Saturn at 22 degrees conjunct the sun, there is an authority figure who promised to him liberation, right? But it didn't, because Saturn is some kind of controlling and authority issue over there. So that's obviously, and 12 house also music industry as well. So obviously there was like multiple abuse here. And that's why he became like terrible drug addict, poor thing.
yeah, if it's, I think he needed it's almost like he needed a friend to get out of this, and like have better role models, more mature role models who would help him channel this energy in a different way, like you said, help children with sex trafficking. I think that would have been like literally the best outlet for this. I also know, like, I've heard these conspiracy. I don't know if they're conspiracy theories. Maybe
Yeah,
they're the
we don't
truth.
know if it's conspiracy, but I was very surprised because Aaron Carter's parents were professors, right? So they are very well educated people. That's what I think. He is the one, and that's why I don't understand. Like if you are educated, if you are, so why don't you see your child is starting something or have some kind of behavior concern at the very beginning, he might have been abused. So I'm really looking that in my family, like I'm checking the boys all the time. I don't know, so maybe they were working all the time. Of course, I'm not going to throw stones on anyone, but I'm just surprised it was not, they didn't see that in time so they can make a difference.
Yeah, for me, one of the, let's say, things that might have pushed him, what would have been maybe the detachment there, or the issues that happened in childhood. The eighth house moon, the crisis with the emotional life, that pushed him towards like that scene. And if again, if that would have been met sooner by somebody who supported him, helped him through it from a healthier point of view, I think this could have been much different. Like, he could have helped a lot of
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
But you see, for example, Moon in the eighth house, and then, he has this, he was actually scared to tell the mother because of he ashamed himself or he didn't want to hurt the mother feeling. So he was protecting a mother figure, eighth house. So he suppressed his trauma over there. Or also, if he got actually abused by males, right? He felt maybe dirty because he thought maybe I became gay or whatever, and I'm not. But that there is a confusion over here, and I'm also protecting the mother and everything. So that's why probably he didn't say anything over there. Yeah,
Yeah, it's very hidden, eighth
both
house,
is very
12th
hidden.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah. But guys, I hope like dissecting some of these will kind of help you to see some of these patterns like emerging, maybe in your child's chart, maybe in your friend's chart, whoever family member, hopefully guide them towards some sort of deeper help, and encourage them to talk about to a person they can trust. Obviously, it's an important thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. I think, yeah, from my end, let's I guess this deeper thing, and it was a heavy topic, but hopefully it will serve you to kind of reach lighter places, higher places as well, to help you work through these darker places, to release these energies and actually move forward with your life. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and you can go and actually look for genetic indicators as well. But as I said, biology of beliefs. I love Bruce Lipton, and it is only 5%. But what you were just saying, how do they get actually? Love from parents, if everybody is obsessed with cleaning. In my family, everybody is obsessed with cleaning. So you were right. It is just like indicating like that's who you are loved. For example, if everything is clean around you, yes. And also I would like to say, because of, serotonin, dopamine, deficiencies also could create trichotillomania when you pull out your hair, or like that's also an addiction because it's reliefs, and actually it's increased the dopamine and serotonin because it's some kind of release over there, stress release, right? And I do have trichotillomania, so just so you know, guys, I don't have long hair because I pull it out. So that is just like, it is what it is, and that's all right. I can handle it, and that's why I became a psychiatric nurse, because there is some issues which I hid on myself, but obviously. But what I wanted to tell you, because we were talking about at the beginning, it's serotonin, dopamine, and it is actually also endorphin as well. And this is actually very, very important to make you happy. So as a clinical herbalist, for example, if you have B vitamin deficiency, it could create depression, guys. You have to try to eat leafy vegetables, right? You have to try, because that's also giving you zinc as well, and it could also be zinc deficiency. Zinc helps you to absorb all the vitamins, and if you have zinc deficiency, even if you take a lot of D and B vitamin, it does not absorb, so it's not gonna help. So that's why zinc is the first. If you have intolerance for zinc, you just put the sublingual under your tongue, you swish it around and you spit it out after 2 minutes, and it's not gonna give you tummy ache, okay? So if you have that. But on the other hand, sunlight and morning sunlight, for example, that's why I encourage everyone, if you live nearby the beach, I'm very lucky, I live by the shore, I can see the sunrise, because the sunrise actually the most important, the D vitamin from there. You can do earthing, for example, be barefoot out in the garden. It's very Venetian. It's earthing. It's really, really great also. And the niacin, if you have seen the Fork Over Nights, and also, oh my God, you are what you eat documentaries. There is actually niacin B3 vitamin can heal also cataton depression, guys, in high amount, right? So but buy the unflashable, because it's very uncomfortable to have the niacin, take the niacin and you get red and hot and whatever. So I don't like. So I buy the unflashable. And if I'm melancholy, for example, if you have Saturn moving through and over your natal sun, you can get depressed. Okay. And for example, I experienced that I have my sun 4 degrees in Pisces. So 2 years ago, I get melancholic. So I took extra niacin because it's helped me. I was making sure I have extra B vitamin, Brazil nuts, for example, that's for zinc also, but those are very, very important. Banana for endorphin, like it is very important. So it's increasing, and make sure you don't do dopamine burnouts, because if you watch porn all the time, if you gaming all the time, like which is instant what is that, instant joy or whatever is that, then actually it could burn you out. Get off from EMF, get off from and detox yourself from technology. Very important, because that could actually burn you out. So I'm just saying, we are capable to heal ourselves. If you take SSRI, don't cold cut, because it could create suicidal thoughts. I have a client who shot himself. He didn't die, but lost all the family, because it's just terrible. But because of he cold cut SSRI, you don't do that. You start to take the niacin and you talk to your psychologist, psychiatrist, whoever, and you just cut it, you decrease it with Xanax, with any kind of medication like that, you decrease everything. Okay. I always say, like, very, very slow and long process. Yes, indeed, you are capable to get rid of it. Even thyroid medication, I think so, because if you start to take selenium, you get less thyroid medication, obviously, but it's very, very slow and long. Never quite cut anything, because unfortunately it's back punch you.
Yeah, it can be really, really bad consequences. I'll give you one like exercise, guys, as well. Like, if you are feeling the urge to, let's say, grab a gaming device or whatever your vice is, food, you name it, alcohol. When you notice, okay, I need to go and take it, before you take it, I ask you to basically pay attention to your body, what is happening in your body. So it can be a pain, it can be an emptiness, it can be somewhere in your chest, hands, wherever it is. Pay attention to the sensation and feeling before you actually take it. That sensation, that feeling, that hole very often will actually show you why you're grasping for that thing, why you're going for that thing. It will be difficult in the beginning, but once you get the hang of it, once you get into the feeling, and once you understand the feeling, it will get much, much easier. And if you can be, this is might be a little bit too much for maybe big, if you're starting out alone to do, but if you can have a trusted person there next to you, if you can be with that sensation 5 to 7 minutes, I will guarantee you don't really want to go for that gaming or that food or whatever it is that you're grasping for. That will literally, this is what I do in my practice, in my work. This is what I do with people I help out. This, I can guarantee it will help you.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to do at the beginning, but once you get the hang of it, it will solve a lot of your problems. Those 5 to, let's say, 7 minutes, it's crucial.
Yeah, rejection. Most of the time, there is some kind of rejection, especially with food addiction, or even alcohol addiction. I can see, for example, oh, by the way, if you have any alcohol addiction, get amethyst around you, because it could really help you with alcohol and drug addiction, just the frequency of the amethyst and lapis lazuli, for example. But on the other hand, if you have Venus, Jupiter, or even in solar arc or progression in the sixth house conjuncting, and you eat a lot, or you feel unsatisfied or things like that, and food addiction, definitely it could be some kind of you are not loved. Your love language, for example, is act of service. I like when people are kind, or they say something, oh, you are smart. That's my love language, and act of service always. But if I always just get beautiful jewelries, or like things like that, I'm not necessarily loved on a way I want to be loved, or touching, like whatever. And if your love language is not who you are loved, you can stuff your mouth all the time with sweetness, because you're craving for love, and it is actually not expressed the way you want to be loved. And then, if you talk to your partner, talk to your children, or whatever, it could be solved. Obviously, you're not gonna stuff yourself. However, if you have any kind of food addiction and sweet addiction, berberine, bitter melon, and cinnamon. That is the one which stops the cravings. So just put it out there for you guys.
Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, but meditation is very important. Thank you so much. By the way, guys, if you watched us all the way, I don't know, do we have prize this time or no? Because we didn't have. Next time we're gonna have prize.
Next time I'll probably bring like more charts. Example, let's try another guessing game. This time it was it was such a deep and maybe like a
Yeah.
very disturbing topic, painful topic for most. It didn't feel kind of right to almost like make a game out of it. So
Okay.
let's hope this more serious advice helps many people.
Yeah, I think so. And it does. It does help. But yes, next time we can do the calendar, what we made together, and it could be the price over there. By the way, if you watched us all the way long, I forgot to say that at the beginning. Yesterday, actually, Ian had his birthday, and I would like to actually say that out, and you can wish him happy Earth Strong or Solar Return or birthday, whatever you want to. But I going to wish you again happy birthday, and I hope all your wishes coming through. I think our collaboration is like godly, and it's very heavenly. It feels like, and like it is going very well, so I hope we can bring you a lot of topic. By the way, guys, if you have any topic you want us to talk about or do research for you, indicators, anything, it could be autism, a lot of parents have lately, or anything, really, let us know, and we're going to do that for you.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you are like, what you're struggling, or maybe what you're just curious about, like what you want to know. It would be really helpful for us. And also, I'm always like when a person starts something, when they let's say openly says, "Oh, this is what's happening," usually it starts to show us a bigger theme as well, what other people are going through as well. Maybe another person adds that in the comments, so we can then see and tune into the themes of what you're dealing with and what's happening.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much to watching us and listening and tune in and comment below and share. Please share it. If you have any social media account on Facebook or anywhere, you just share us. We would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys.